Super Bowl 55, you can hear the game exclusively on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage begins Sunday at 3 o'clock. Joe Valerio played in the for the Kansas City Chiefs on their offensive line and has some really cool stories. Former second-round pick, Kansas City Chiefs, played with Joe Montana back in that era. So when you're thinking about when did you see him play, he was back in that era, 91 to 95, played with Kansas City. Also a University of Penn guy. So a local guy, Ridley High School, drafted in the second round, 1991. We'll get his perspective on this game and just NFL life in general. It's a pleasure to have him on, and he is with us here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN from the Bleav in Chiefs podcast. And he, like all guests, appears via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Joe, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thank you for having me on. Much appreciated. Yeah, I moved back to Philly, so I'm here. I'm a Philly guy, and my kids all went to college relatively local. My one daughter went up to New England, but we're Ocean City every summer, and even in the winter we're there. So we are East Coast Philadelphia people all the way. You and I spent that great time in Kansas City. So yeah, and then the Penn thing, God. You know, I always joke I was blocking Biff McNutty from Harvard, and then I was going against Reggie White and Howie Long. It was like, what the heck what just happened? Like, how did that happen? But no, I had a blast out in Kansas City. It was great. There's a lot of Philly connections too, which is amazing back then. Carl Peterson, general manager, had his stint with the Eagles. Lynn Stiles, Tim Conley. I mean, Carl Hairston, John Bunning, Herm Edwards. I mean, it was like we could call it Philadelphia West out there.
Well, and it's same now. I mean, Andy's out there. You got a bunch of ties out there. You ever have any interaction or cross paths with Andy Reid?
Oh, it's so funny you should say that. I had lunch with Andy on Route 420 in Prospect Park, not far from where I grew up in Ridley. And we met Andy there, a bunch of alums. I was pretty active with the Philadelphia chapter back then. Most of the guys were Eagles guys, but they accepted me into the crew since I moved back to the area. And we took Andy to lunch in his first week with Philadelphia when he joined the squad back then. And I couldn't have been more impressed with him, even in that brief lunch and getting to meet him. And then obviously, got to see him at other events throughout that time. But just that first impression I got from him was, man, he's going to be so right for this city. And he was. I thought it was a great run. Getting to those NFC championships, getting to that Super Bowl, obviously win the big one. But yeah, he's just a fantastic guy. I love him. I got all the time in the world for Coach Reid, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I know. Here he didn't win that big one, like you said, which frustrated a lot of people. But I think the appreciation has come for many in the time that he's been out. But you have been in Kansas City, and it seems that that's a great spot for a guy like Andy. I mean, because Andy here. I don't know. You know how the media can be here and how the fans are here. Yeah. And Andy just didn't want to play that game. I need to do a better job. And it started to frustrate people. You could do that in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's definitely a different environment, right? I mean, even back, how it is today, it's probably, sports has taken on, new meanings in so many places. But even like back when I was playing, which was a complete 180 from what I was used to in Philadelphia with a couple of, 24-hour sports radio shows. Every paper had major sports section, right? I'm dating myself all the way back to the Bulletin for crying out loud. But Kansas City, the only time you really had sports coverage was, for the 15 minutes during the network news, right? The local affiliate news, right? And then you had most of the radio stations out there did either a morning drive or an afternoon drive. And then you'd have the smattering of, player shows on some of the stations, at night where, you do a 2-hour broadcast from a local bar and you'd have a player as a host. And I did that for a couple of years. I did a post-game show for 2 hours after the games. And that was it. That was all the coverage you had. People didn't. It's not that they didn't eat, live, and breathe sports. It was done in a different way, and definitely an environment for somebody like Andy, who's a little bit more low key. I think it probably suits him a lot better.
When you watch Andy Reid and the product out on the field with this current team, what impresses you the most about how they play under him?
I think what he does, what Andy does, and I think what he's done with Eric Bieniemy and Coach Spagnuolo on the defensive side of the ball as well. Andy, what he doesn't do is he doesn't try to fit his players into his playbook. Andy doesn't have this, cut and paste, square peg. I'm going to fit a round peg with a square hole kind of a playbook. His playbook is designed to meet the talents, the strengths, the weaknesses sometimes of his players. And that's how he builds his playbook. And I think that's what makes him such a great players coach. I think that's why his teams, I'll call it overachieve, like this he puts people in the right place at the right time and designs the game plan around that, what he has, as opposed to like vice versa, where you get some of these strict coaches who say, well, this is my playbook, this is my philosophy, this is what we're going to run, and if you don't fit it, you're out. And he's done that with so many players. I think it's why they shine, right? It's why a Tyrann Mathieu can come to Kansas City and just blossom, right? It's why Chris Jones on the D-line plays so well. You look at his offense, Tyreek Hill, the Legion of Zoom. He said, all right, I'm going to take this speed. I'm going to build a playbook around the speed. And I'm going to have guys going vertically and horizontally and using their speed up the field, across the field. I'm going to take a guy like Travis Kelce and I'm going to build tight end packages around him and put him in the best place to be successful. That's what I feel he does. And that was a long answer to a really short question, but I think that's his greatest strength. I really do. I think all leaders and managers in business or any walk of life could take a lot of lessons from that.
It certainly helps to have a guy like Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback triggering it all too. And I just like, from your perspective, Joe, you played with Joe Montana. Many consider him the coolest customer out there. You see a guy like Mahomes. How that changes an entire team when you have that level of player.
It's a level of confidence that is really hard to replicate if you don't have that. I think back to some of the teams, and I don't mean this to be critical of any player, but I think back to watching guys like Dan Marino. Dan Marino always seemed like he was a stress ball out there, when he was playing, and that rubs off on the players. They feel the pressure. Joe Montana, he was that old saying, he was as cool as the other side of the pillow. I mean, here I am, 305-pound offensive lineman who becomes like one of his target receivers, right, in this tackle eligible series that we had. And, when he would call that play, and I was lucky enough to do it 3 times with him, he never looked at me like, hey, Joe, are you okay? Do you got this? I mean, are you healthy? How's your hands feel? You warmed up, right? Like he just called the play like I was Jerry Rice, right? Like he called the play. We went to the line and he threw the ball. I caught it and we walked up the sideline like it was like I had done it before. And I know that's like a small, weird little example, but that's the kind of that he just exuded that up and down the lineup with all of his players. He never pointed a finger. Somebody dropped the ball on 4th down. Even though he was the last guy. He was the last guy to leave the stadium at night. He was the first guy there. And here was a guy by the time he got to Kansas City, could have pretty much checked it in. I think his leadership by example, and I think that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes is like. It's just cool, and it's an air of confidence it gives the team.
As a former O-lineman, how much does it concern you that Eric Fisher and some of the others are going to be out going up against a Tampa Bay defense that is playing really well right now?
Oh, it's my biggest concern. And if I could tell fans, I told this to our listeners, Jeff Fedot, my partner on Bleav, we told them if there's one thing you can watch in this game, there's going to be a lot of fireworks going on, right? You got 2 great quarterbacks. You got a phenomenal set of skill players, right? Up and down both rosters. But I think if I were to watch one thing, and if I could only have one camera, it would be on the Chiefs' offensive line versus the defensive line of the Bucs. I really do. I feel that's where everybody needs to focus their attention, at least in the early part of the game, right, until things start to settle in. I'm more worried about this sort of makeshift Chiefs line in the run game than I am in the passing game. And I know that probably sounds a little counterintuitive, but I think it takes more chemistry to get the running attack going because of the zone blocking and getting the hips together and doing all the teamwork that you have to do. I'm not as concerned, and this could come back to bite me making this statement, but I'm not as concerned, at least right now, going into the game with Patrick in the pass protection, because it seems like he plays better when things are collapsing around him and when teams blitz him and stuff is kind of happening. He has an uncanny way of finding the pocket with inside the pocket, and you can't traditionally rush Patrick Mahomes. If you traditionally rush him with the ends coming up field and, the two interior tackles, doing stunts or whatever to try to pressure up the middle, Patrick is going to find that open spot in the pocket, and he's going to step up, buy himself an extra second, and he can throw off balance. He can throw while he's rolling out. And I think they're going to have to be, really careful about the way that they rush him, because he's very elusive that way. He's not super speedy, but he's very elusive. I think he has 6 eyes. I really do. I think he's got 2 in the back, 2 in the side, and 2 in the front of his head, because he just sees everything. And so I hope that wasn't too long of an answer, but I think I'm more worried about them establishing the run game with this makeshift line than I am with the pass protection side of it.
Yeah, excellent breakdown. Joe Valerio from the Bleav in Chiefs on the Bleav Podcast Network, an offensive lineman. And also a University of Penn grad, as you mentioned, make a home here in Ocean City during the summer with his family, so he knows the area well. I want to ask you, as a guy who played the offensive line and obviously still watches the game, you saw what happened in Philadelphia with the constant – they had 13 different line combinations. Can you we had Bryant McKinney on yesterday, who played tackle and, was a Hall of Fame level player, and said it's a problem. But if you're a guy who, you're using everything you have to stay on the field, how difficult is it if 1 week there's a left tackle next to you and the next week there's a different left tackle next to you, and then, hey, by the way, Joe, we're going to need you to go play right guard this week? Like, how difficult, when you saw the Eagles maybe from afar changing lines and spots almost weekly, is that a recipe for disaster? And do you think that factors in to why a guy like Wentz struggled so much?
I could not agree with you more. And I know I kind of made that comment about, Patrick being special with the pass rush, but let's put that in context of having a quarterback who's normal, and not Patrick.
I was going to say, we don't have to put Wentz and Mahomes in the same category.
Because even a Tom Brady would struggle with that kind of inconsistency up front, right? Guy's been to 10 Super Bowls. Those kind of drop back quarterbacks really struggle with the inconsistency on the offensive line. I'll point it out. I wish I could show you some film about how it all comes about. The offensive line is the only unit that operates as a unit, right? I mean, defensive line, they got a couple of little stunts here and there that they have to coordinate, but for all intents and purposes, defenses can be a lot more individualistic than playing offensive line. There is so much teamwork. I'm doing air quotes like your listeners can see me, but there's so much teamwork and chemistry that goes on the offensive line, starting with the run game. Like I said, when you're zone blocking, you have to know where somebody's hips are going to be, where their feet are going to be, where their hat placement's going to be. And you're trying to, block a 340-pound defensive tackle with a double team and a guy that runs, a defensive tackle that runs a 4.4 and weighs 350 pounds. And you're trying to double team him, because that's the only way you can move guys like that. You're not going to move them one-on-one. They're going to kill you, right? And so to try to block that guy, then get to the linebacker level, all of that timing and footwork comes with consistency, practice, and muscle memory. And it's the same thing in the pass game when defensive linemen are doing stunts and the tackle's crossing the end and the end's looping around. You've got to know what level your partner is going to be on, right? If you're double teaming a pass blocking with the left guard and the left tackle, and there's a twist or a stunt, they need to know when they collide and how to shift and pass off pass rushers. If you watch all of those games, we used to call them, going on the defensive line, and the blitzes that are coming and the communication, you could probably hear the passion in my voice. I coached offensive line at the high school level for like 11 years. And that was the one thing that we tried to do more than anything, was create a consistency with our players, because that's the recipe for success.
I'll say, Joe,
the recipe for disaster.
Joe, I need a color commentator. I need a color commentator when I do high school football games. I might call you back for some of these games down here.
I would love to. That would be great. That would be a treat. I would love to do that. That would be so much fun.
Tremendous breakdowns here. And Joe, I do want to ask you, just on a lighter note, I see you scored 4 touchdowns in your career as the jumbo package tight end. Bigger thrill, scoring a touchdown or maybe winning the biggest game of your career?
Oh, man.
Now, you scored 4 times.
Say,
I mean, it's like old hat for you now.
Well, the thing about those games is that I every one of them was really special. Because like my first touchdown I had, was from Joe Montana in '93, and it was against the Raiders.
The man caught a touchdown from Joe Montana. That's unbelievable,
right? And then, what chief doesn't want to score against the Raiders, right? Like, because that's the rivalry, right? That is it. That's like Eagles, Cowboys, Raiders, Chiefs, right? So then in '94, Joe throws me one in the 49ers game, September 11th, 1994. Steve Young, Joe Montana shootout at Arrowhead. I score against the 49ers, and Joe beats Steve Young and sticks it right back at the 49ers. Then later in the season, it's Montana Elway, Monday night, third quarter. He finds me again out in the flat, and bam, he throws me one, and I nesty plunge, right into the end zone. Monday Night Football. It's like it's really hard to put those. And then the last one, Joe retires, and then Steve Bono, right, the Norristown Flash, as we like to call him. We're playing Buddy Ryan's defense in Arizona, and in that same game, Steve threw me a touchdown, and Steve also, I escorted him down the field on a 76-yard touchdown where he was supposed to throw me the ball, but he decided to run because there was nobody out there, and I beat him. I beat our quarterback in a foot race down the field, and so it was these bizarre games that I was scoring in that was just crazy. So it's hard to compare that feeling when your whole life all you've ever heard was 73 holding, 73 offside, right? Like, my dad, when I first started playing offensive line when I was a little kid in Little League, and I came home and told my dad I got put on the O-line. I asked him, I said, Dad, when am I going to get my name called on the loudspeaker? He goes, when you jump off sides, and I was like, oh, that's no fun, and he said, I said, Dad, what about the cheerleaders? He goes, son, they only did quarterback. So I was like, oh man, so I've toiled in that anonymity for so long. And then to hear my name was pretty cool.
Great stuff. Joe Valerio from the Kansas City Chiefs, host of the Bleav in Chiefs on the Bleav Podcast Network. He played with the Chiefs, second-round pick, University of Penn. He's in their Hall of Fame from 91 to 95. And we, of course, have the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. Now, Brady's been in the league so long, you almost probably played against Brady.
I came awfully close. It's crazy, right? I've been out of the league since 1996, when I had a cup of coffee with the Rams. And yeah, I mean, he is, wow. I mean, just that kind of longevity is just amazing, right? To be able to do it for as long as he did. I mean, we always joke, players, when they get into their 40s, they always say they have one more season left. And then, I'm in my 50s now, and it's like, I think I have one more, I have one more game left. And then guys in their 60s will say, I got one more series. I think I could do one more series. And then the guys 70 and older will always say one play. Yeah. I know I can do one more play. Yep. There's a diminishing return there that you get. But it's been amazing to watch. I mean, obviously 10 Super Bowls. He's played in more playoff games than the average NFL player plays in their games in their entire career.
Unbelievable.
Like full game, regular season and playoffs, which is crazy, right?
Yep. If you enjoyed what you heard from Joe like we did, you can check out the host of the Bleav in Chiefs on the Bleav Podcast Network. And, of course, we got the game right here on Sunday. The coverage starts at 3 o'clock. Joe Valerio from the Kansas City Chiefs, the former tackle, and he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Hey, Joe, we really enjoyed it, man. Thanks a bunch.
This was a blast. We'll see everybody at Manco and Manco's in Ocean City this summer, right, when we're all back to normal.
Absolutely, man. We'll be in touch. All right, man. We appreciate it. We'll definitely have to be in touch with Joe